Hello and welcome to Lens of Hopefulness with me, your host, John Passadino. In this episode, I interviewed Kit Slocum, who is a neurodiversity coach and lead at Flaw, F-L-O-W-N. Kit was so much fun to talk to. I could truly relate to her and her experience being neurodivergent and also working with neurodivergent people like me. We shared so many stories, and when I told my own, she listened carefully and was able to say how much she related to what I was saying. And I am very sure, I feel strongly, that many of you will be able to relate to what she's saying, whether you're neurodivergent or not. We all know someone who is. So I think it'll give you great insight into the world of neurodivergent people like myself and Kit. Hit subscribe and tell your friends and family about the Lens of Hopefulness podcast. We have lots of terrific guests that talk about psychology, philosophy, and self-improvement and the arts too. And I feel that many more people can enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you so much.
Analyzing life.
Considering the answers.
Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino.
With guest.
Neurodiversity Lead Kit Slocum.
Hi, Kit. Welcome to Lens of Hopefulness with me, John Passadino. So good to have you.
Hi. Yes. Hi, John. Nice to meet you. I'm super excited to be here today.
Yeah, and I love your lovely background, all the pink and yes. What are they called again? The squishmallows. Are they squishmallows?
Yes. Squishmallows. Yeah. Pink's the power color. We got a plushy pile for the bad days that you just dive into. Very regulating.
I love them. I go through Costco and I squeeze them. Don't say anything. I'm on camera doing it, but I can't help but buy my wife one every time I'm in Costco. I walk in with another one. She's like, "No, that's it, no more." But I just, it's for me, you know. But so, you know, I know you work for Flaw, and I have to tell you, I'll jump right in and say that I got up 3 o'clock in the morning, as I usually do, because of all my little issues. And I went on the website, Flaw, and I saw you, and I saw your great photo and your great video and everything. And and we'll get more into what you do for Flaw. But I saw that you had told me in our pre-production that there are like body double sessions. And I'm scrolling down. I'm like, wow, I could drop in right now at 3 a.m. There was a drop-in session scheduled. I'm like, that's 5 minutes from now. I think I might drop in. So I thought that was so cool to have that option for somebody like me who has ADHD and a lot of other acronyms. And so do you participate in those drop-ins when somebody with ADHD or other focus issues drops in? Is that part of what you do?
Yes.
At home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Easy answer.
Yeah. Because we have a lot of different types of body doubling sessions at Flaw. So there's a 24-hour drop-in, which we kind of think of it as a 24-hour library for focus. And then there's facilitated sessions, which are the ones that I do. So I'll actually host facilitated sessions that are structured. And I occasionally will also do ADHD focused power hours or body doubling sessions where they're just for the neurodivergent community. And we do a little tool share and it's designed for more neurodivergent brains. So yes, I am absolutely on there. In the body doubling session.
So cool. So I may just drop in. Hopefully they won't charge me for dropping in. But it looked like there was some free options too, where I could drop in and try it out. So I might do that sometime. And everybody, of course, is that's listening or watching on YouTube can drop in flown.com, FLOWN.com to find Kit and to find all the others that are out there doing this magnificent work. And I have to say, because, I'm kind of going backwards into the show, which is because I am neurodivergent myself. And rather than doing a formal introduction and all that, I just jumped into a conversation and I kind of jump around. But being neurodivergent, I have to, let me tell a story. I'll just hog the show and tell the story. So, I actually grew up, here, let me give a focus to myself. Hey, everybody, it's me. So, I actually grew up, that's not fair. I won't do that to Kit. So, I actually grew up in the can you believe I went to grammar school in the 1960s? I was going, and then the few people that know me going, yeah, of course you did. You know. But let me tell you what it was like in the 1960s for a neurodivergent person. We had to wear uniforms, Catholic school, and we had nuns who were very strict. And basically, you suffered if you were different. You literally suffered. Not only were you teased and bullied in the schoolyard, but you had a nun that cracked a ruler on your desk or your hand if they felt you weren't paying attention. So just imagine the shame and even depression that people like me, like us, felt like back then. So my point is, to have those options today is incredible. And now I'll make my if I had those options speech, so, which I do sometimes. I say, like anybody that listens, usually is my wife. I'll say, if I had those options back then, who knows where I would have been. But then I wouldn't have been me also. So, because this makes me different in a lot of good ways too. And you too. I know you are. You have special skills and you have a great energy about you because of being neurodivergent. I'll say that right off the get-go. Your energy is so unique because you're neurodivergent. So we are heroes. Yeah. We're going to start a superhero. There probably is one already. Neurodivergent superhero. I think so. Oh, you know what? In The Chosen, the show about the life of Jesus that's been streaming on all these like Amazon and YouTube and all that, Matthew, the Apostle Matthew, in it is neurodivergent.
Cool.
Yeah, he's autistic. He does these like little hand gestures and stuff, and it's clear that they're portraying him as autistic. Now, there's nothing in the scripture that says that he was, but I like the fact that they're taking that step because there's a good chance that he was. One of the apostles might have, and we know that Jesus would have accepted him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So now so that's part of my story. And just to finish it out, when I did grow up, I ended up earning an MBA, but it was as an adult. And it wasn't easy, but I was able to work through those issues and prove to myself that I could apply myself. And what helped me is, by the way, this is John Passadino show, and I'm hogging it. The Lens of Hopefulness show with John Passadino. And Kit's here listening to me tell my stories. What really helped me was online schooling, because I worked at my pace and I didn't feel the pressure of others around me, and I was able to divide my time and learn how to schedule myself, and it just was so different than being in that strict classroom. It was very open. So anyway, let's kick it over to you, because I know you're educated too. I saw you have a few degrees, I think 2 or 3 degrees, psychology, biology. Did I get that right?
Yes. Oh, if I may just go back a little bit, because I just wanted to comment on your experience.
Of course.
First of all, thanks for sharing that with me. And I think that's we're such an interesting time right now, because there is quite a shift in the conversations happening around neurodivergence and acceptance. So a lot of folks, especially if you're later diagnosed, we used to be in something called the pathology paradigm. So neurodivergence, things like ADHD or autism, were looked at as something to be fixed. It was pathologized. We're something to be fixed, or something wrong with us, and we need to fix ourselves to fit into and meet the status quo. And that is historically how society has been. Yeah. It's amazing now that we are moving more into something called neurodiversity paradigm, which, again, as you're saying, it's there's more, acceptance. We're kind of like looking at everyone's brain as, there's no fixing to be done. We just all have a variety of different brain structures and neurochemical experiences. So it's more of, instead of looking at what's wrong with you, the individual, it's instead saying what is wrong with the system and the system, and what is wrong, and how do we, what kind of accessibility needs do we need to put into place so every kind of brain is supported. I often kind of think about it as eye color differences. You know, like when we're looking at eye color, they're all beautiful, blue, brown, green. But if you have blue eyes, maybe you might be a little more sensitive to the sunlight. So you might need to wear darker sunglasses. So, you know, there's nothing, our brains aren't wrong. They're just different and beautiful in their own ways. So I think we are shifting for the most part, we're shifting into a time where people are a little bit more accepting. And then one more note on that, and I don't know if you've experienced this. I'm curious if you have, if you feel comfortable sharing. I work with a lot of clients primarily between the ages of mid 40s to 60s, which is interesting. Maybe like a little bit older is the majority of my client base. And over the years, I've noticed this pattern of this grief that happens when they get diagnosed. Like, it's, you know, everyone has a very vastly different experience. Some people feel so relieved because they're like, oh, it finally makes sense that this is, you know, the way I am. But for a lot of folks, they experience this deep grief, and that comes with anger, sadness. Sometimes I've seen, you know, even denial. But this grief of, you know, who could I have been if I had knowledge of this when I was growing up, or if I had accessibility support, or if I had the support from my family or my school system. And so it's almost this retroactive kind of grief of like who I could be. But to your point, I love that you said, but I am who I am, and I love who I am now because of the challenge I went through. So it's kind of a duality kind of thing.
Well, I have to say thank you so much. And you're a great listener because you were able to pluck out those important items of what I said. And I also wanted to point out that one of my sons, our sons, my wife and I, is neurodivergent too, and he was fortunate to have from a very early age services right here in our home. He had PT, OT, speech, and there were like 5 of them. People came to this house, and then he was in inclusion classes. So they used to call it special ed, or way back when they called it something else. But they called it special ed. And then they changed the name. But when he went, they had a different category called inclusion, where they had extra teachers in the class, so he gets some assistance just to push him over that line. Because without those, like I said in my experience in the 1960s, we just didn't get help. And you went home and you're like, how come you didn't listen to the nuns? You know, so, you know, well, you're not paying attention. Are you paying attention? But anyway, so now people said to us, I'll tell another little story. Don't put him in inclusion. Once he's in that, he'll never come out. He'll never be able to make it in the higher grades because he won't get the same level of help. Well, we left him in, and he graduated college. He graduated 2 colleges, actually, with very little assistance, because he was brought to that point with that support, and that enabled him to go to the next level. So had he not gotten that help, who knows? And by the way, my college stories, I didn't go to college until 7 years out of high school, because my experience in school was so bad. I never wanted to see school again. I hated school. I hated everything about it. And then when I went back, I had matured, and I think there's some changes that happen as we grow too. And also I had motivation too, because I needed a career. I wanted a career in computers, by the way. I was in IT. And a friend, a peer, a mentor said to me, you should go to school. I was like, school? Oh my God. So I found out my job paid for it. If we got a B or greater, B plus or greater. If not, we had to pay them back with interest. So I had motivation also to get higher grades. But I enjoyed learning the second time around because I was older, motivated, had more confidence as an adult than I was when I was young. When I was young, I just thought I thought I was stupid. I thought I was dumb. And that label has stuck with me. There's sometimes I call myself stupid. And I'm like, wow, that's ingrained from when I was a kid. And I haven't shaken that all the way. It's the label that just sticks like an imprint. Boing. Anyway, so that's my story. Yeah. I'm sticking to it. And anyway, it has a good ending. And for my son, for me, for you, because as I was saying, I know you have, tell us about your educational background. If you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I got a little emotional there, and you're telling your story because that is exactly my narrative too. Growing up was, I am stupid was like my story and my narrative, and I also went back to college late. It's like a very very similar path. I think that's very common for neurodivergent folks. Is we'll go back to school a little later.
Okay.
But my background, yes. So I have been all over the place in true ADHD fashion. So. As I said, I went back to school a little later. I think I was 24 when I went back to school, put myself through community college and then university, working full time, going to school full time. It was exhausting, especially with chronic illnesses and ADHD, probably one of the most difficult times of my life. But started out with environmental science and biology, and I got my one of my degrees in biological sciences. So I thought I wanted to be an oceanographer and was doing that for a little bit. And realized I absolutely hated being in a lab all day doing chemical titrations. It was cold and lonely and not stimulating for my brain at all.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, pivoting, we're going to do something else. Let's do the science of people. And that's when I went into psychology and neuroscience and absolutely just fell in love with it. I think I was talking to another podcast host recently, and when I first got my psychology textbook, I actually read the whole thing. I went way ahead. I read the whole thing in like 2 weeks or something instead of actually doing it chapter by chapter, because it's the first time my brain like really lit up with, oh my gosh, I'm engrossed with this material. Yeah. Because I think it helped me make sense of myself in the world. Because if you really understand how the brain works, it can better inform why we behave the way we do. So it almost felt, I don't know how to explain it. Kind of gave me this sense of, oh, wow, okay, I understand. Therefore, this isn't confusing and this isn't scary anymore because I understand what's happening in the brain.
Great story.
So, applied psychology with the emphasis in behavioral neuroscience, and basically just fell in love with why people act the way they do, human behavior.
That's a great story, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, and it's come full circle because I've been, by the way, I saw that podcast, by the way, the Neurodivergent podcast. I think that was one of them that you were on anyway. I watched that one with the doctor. I think it was a doctor that was the host. He was really good.
Oh, yes, the neuropsychiatrist.
Yes. I'm like, and you guys got into very detailed. You can go out and search Kit Slocum on YouTube and you'll find that YouTube podcast, because it gets into lots of detail, scientific detail. But so with me, again, back to my story and why I was so excited to have you as a guest, so I could talk about myself for an hour.
I love it.
Because I'm like, oh man, that's me. Oh wow. Because getting back to, all my entire life, I've been seeking in order for me to have that information technology career, which was stimulating, by the way. That's why I fell for it, because I fell in love with it, because it had all this, bells and whistles and exciting things happening. But all along, I was searching to find out, to understand what was wrong with me. Because even though I went back to school late, I still didn't totally understand why I was the way I was. So the seeking, the researching, all that. And so after I finished my IT career, I did some writing and everything, but then I documented some of my stories in essay, memoir form. But then I was like, what can I do that I always love to do? I love to research. And that's why I started this podcast, because I could talk to people like you now. It's not just in a book. It's not just Googling. I'm actually talking to people who are in the industry, and I'm just making all these discoveries firsthand from primary sources. Sources. Let's make sauce. from primary from primary sources. So this is such a treat for me. I mean, back before I was podcasting, if I saw a book or a website, it's not so easy to just go, hey, I want to talk to you. You know, like I have a book and I go, hey, I want to talk to the author. I'll just call them up on the phone. Or like you're on the website, like, I like that person right there. I want to talk to you. So now I could have a whole hour to myself with the guest, like you. I mean, I'm living the dream here, folks. Let's face it. And like I said to D.E. Foster, who I interviewed before you, who has been on a similar journey. He said he's out there doing this because he wants to share. And there isn't a huge amount of money for people like us. You know, we just get by, but we're sharing everything we went through in the hopes that it'll help others along the way. And I know that's why you're in this too. In addition to loving the field, you're a helper. You're a guide to people. I think that's so commendable and so noble of you to give your life to this work. So I have this prize for you, and here, no, just kidding.
You think you give me the trophy?
Yes, I never got a trophy when I was a kid. But so yeah, choosing this field, you could have gone into so many other things. And now, so how long have you been at Flown? How many?
3 years, 3.5 now.
3 years, and it looks like a newer company when I look online. I'm gonna try to do something here, folks. If you're watching a video, I'm gonna flip over. Look at that. I flipped over to one of the screens.
There it is.
So you can see Kit in another fantastic picture. And you're here. You're talking about ADHD coaching with Kit, free chemistry session. Now, what is this free chemistry session? Do you explain how the brain works and all that kind of stuff in that session? Is that what that's about?
Yeah. The chemistry session is just kind of a one-on-one session to kind of get to know each other, to see if it's a good fit. Because, you know, very often we'll find, you know, in the therapy space, in the coaching space, that you spend $150 plus on a coach and you have your session together and you're like, oh, that person wasn't for me. Yeah. So the chemistry session is just a little kind of, feeling it out. Yeah. Face to face to see if it's a good fit. And usually I just kind of ask them basic questions of how they're experiencing neurodivergence. And usually the folks, I would say, maybe 95% of the folks who come to me when we first start coaching are in, I call it the red of the burnout phase, because they're usually at their wit's end and really need guidance and support. So typically see folks who are late stage burnout. So, yeah.
Well, I'll get back to, and by the way, I talked about my IT career and how I loved it and all that, but boy, did I have trouble. It was not easy. I had very bad headaches and lots of anxiety because I was working alongside some very smart people. People that were at IBM inventors and principals, they called them. Some of them were like Nobel laureates. We were in IBM, we were able to talk to anybody that we needed to talk to. And so you'd be like, feel so like small compared to these people. But over time, looking back, many of them were neurodivergent too. They were. I know it. Now that I've learned so much about it from going through everything I've gone through. And the other part of it is, and part of the neurodivergence is anxiety is on that spectrum too, isn't it? Yeah, so I suffer from generalized anxiety. And so the combination of ADHD and anxiety, or maybe it's all merged into one. So I had those two factors kind of like, hitting me on each side of the head, boing, boing. So I'd be like anxious, like, can I hold on to this job? Because I'm alongside these stiff competition, they're doing layoffs. And then I'd be like, can I pay attention to, and I have to read these white papers that were so intense. And I'd be like, woohoo. So the point is, it was so challenging, but at the same time, it was stimulating because I got a charge out of it. The fact that I was challenged. What do you think? Am I onto something here? Was I getting a dopamine rush? I think so. Yeah. And how important is that? That's a big factor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we find often that folks with ADHD will go towards really stimulating types of work. So this could even be things that are adrenaline spiking. So I've had clients that work as EMTs and really high stress jobs. A lot of them are entrepreneurs because there is actually a little side note, epinephrine or adrenaline pairs with dopamine. So if you have an increase of adrenaline, it actually boosts dopamine. So yeah, that little tangent here, but just for the folks who aren't aware, if you're face to face with a tiger or something like a big scary animal, your adrenaline rises quickly, so your dopamine, the task of running away, will also follow. And if we didn't have that dopamine spike to help us run away, we would maybe get eaten by the tiger. But anyway, so you'll find that there's a lot of folks with ADHD in particular that are in kind of more high stress jobs. And the other part of that too is finding our optimal stimulation level, because we have to each have our own kind of individual optimal stimulation level. If it's too understimulating, so maybe we're doing accounting work in a gray cube, that's maybe too understimulating. But if we're working, just constant movement all the time at a startup, and there's things coming at us at all hours of the day, that might be too overstimulating. So we kind of have to find our optimal stimulation balance when it comes to work and our energy. But we often kind of have a tendency to do the latter of what I was saying. We'll go towards things that are very stimulating for us, and we are very prone to burnout because of that. So it's
here we are. Yeah, and that's why I had I did burn out, and I did retire young from the field because of that. Part of it was because of that, and because of illness also. But I was so spent from my multitasking and taking on so much. I mean, at IBM, we had these video meetings. We used to go in person to customers too, but we had these video meetings that would go, and audio meetings that would go on and on for hours. But during those meetings, I was doing like 4 things at once. I mean, it was, we had to multitask in order to keep up, because we had to deliver, and that's it. I mean, you just had to deliver. So my ADHD helped me to a certain extent, in that I was able to go back and forth, listen with one ear, listen to something else with another. Often we were on 2 calls at once, watching something else, reading, writing. And the thing that happened, though, was I was able to accomplish so much, but it drained me. So over time, it was like I was getting splitting headaches, migraines. I was getting GERD. I had this burn. I went for an endoscopy because the burn was so great. And I actually had trouble with my eye. I had losing fluid in my eye. It was like early macular degeneration because I was ripping my eyes. Just some strain of reading and going to school for my master's in the middle of the night. So,
my goodness.
Where's my trophy? Where's my trophy?
Your poor body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really common experience for folks with ADHD. I'm so sorry to go through that, but just, oh my gosh, it just, if you think of your phone, your brain as a smartphone battery or a battery, like we with neurodivergence take more hits. So we typically have a smaller battery than neurotypical folks, and it runs out faster because we are under the surface trying to emotionally regulate, filter out different kinds of stimuli, whether it be visual or auditory or tactile. So our brains are working overtime all the time. But then if you have other things like anxiety or physical health challenges, it's just hitting that battery even more. And I find you so relatable because I have a lot of chronic illness issues as well. And it's a very interesting intersection of experience when you have neurodivergence and also your body is having some challenges too, because it's exhausting. It really is.
Well, I do think that, thank you for all that. It affirms what I know about myself. But even today, with all, I'm doing this and I'm doing, I don't, and I'm not tooting my horn, but I'm on 2 boards of directors for 2 not-for-profit organizations. It can't be one, it has to be 2. And it's not volunteer for one church, volunteer for 2 churches, actually 3 churches. So it's like constant motion still today. And my wife the other day said, "Are you back at work again?" And I was like, it feels like it. It's getting to that point. So I have to slow myself down now and not do what you were just talking about, burn myself out in retirement, because I don't need to actually make sponsors. You can sponsor me, by the way. When I say I don't need to make the money, you could still sponsor this. I promise the money will go to a good cause, so don't. But I'm living off my retirement savings and my Social Security. So why am I doing all this? Because it's the way I'm wired. That's why. And she knows that too. She just knows that about me. She just goes, Well, her energy is different than mine. Her is the total opposite of the spectrum, and I believe it's the how we were able to make it, because there's sometimes our energy will go bang, like she'll be like, you're so hyper, and other times I'll be like, you're so laid back. But then we have this big cushion between us. We're able to be ourselves and stretch in that space, and we kind of complement each other's energy. That's my theory, anyway.
Yes, that's it. That's a real thing. I find
is it?
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah, observationally. So I can't say with empirical backing, but for sure, observationally, a lot of my clients report having partners who are very measured, steady, predictable, consistent, low energy, grounded, and then they're up here. And it's such a beautiful pairing. And it's funny, my partner's the same way.
Oh, wow.
That's the beautiful thing about that, is you complement each other's energies so well.
Yeah.
So it's a very common pairing I've seen a lot, but it works.
Now, and not to say that we don't annoy each other. It's not perfect. I mean, there are times when it's like, it's like, you see, I'm like, I want to, like, let's go to Italy, next week. She's like, next week, like, I need to plan. And I'm like, no, I'm spontaneous. Let's go, So there are times where it gets a little weird, but we've been around each other long. We grew up together, so practically. So we learned to, what's coming and how to just like let it go, like that very Zen-like existence, which is another interesting thing. I see all the time when you scroll, sometimes, like I'm on Substack and I'm scrolling, and because I'm attracted to this field, the algorithm sends me more people that say, you should, sit back today and enjoy the sunset and just get off of social media, get off Substack today and just relax, look at the sun. I'm like, well, everybody is out there on Substack saying this stuff. You're telling me to get off, and you're doing this all day. What are you talking about? But the point is that because it's not so easy. And one of the jokes I said to one of the, who was a former Buddhist monk, it was him I said to, he used to be at Thich Nhat Hanh's, Zen Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery. Oh. And I said, well, Thich Nhat Hanh was a Buddhist monk. It was easy for him. He was living in a monastery. He could kick back and stare at the walls all day because that's what they do. Let him work for IBM and try to do that. Yeah. I mean, I know you're supposed to like apply it that way, but it's not so easy when you're driving, like for us with the Long Island Expressway, you call the LIE. You bumper to bumper traffic, driving into like the biggest city in the world, Manhattan, to go to work. And people are cutting you off, and then you have this deliverable. You have to present to a customer, and the mortgage is hanging, and the interest rates and the bills and the kids and everything. And you're like, now, okay, I'm just going to pull to the side of the road and watch the sun. I wish you can if you work at it, but it's not easy, folks. And I call that, I hate to say it, I'm not knocking down what you guys do, by the way. I love what you do, and I practice it too. I take twice a day, by the way, I kick back. I put headphones on and I just listen to relaxing music. But anyway, what I was going to say was, and I lost my train of thought. There we go. Here we are, Neurodivergent John. I was on such a roll. No, but the point, the point. The point is that we have to work at it. It just that toxic positivity. That's what I wanted to say. It irritates me when there are people that will come up and just say all these things you need to do to feel better, and they make it sound so easy and like they're feeling better all the time when they're really not, because there isn't any perfection in this world, especially in our neurodivergent world with all these issues we have. We can't just snap our fingers. I'll let you talk now.
Yeah. No, I'm just like, yes, I love that you're bringing this up because so often, I really think that mindfulness and spaciousness and slowness and stillness is a luxury for a lot of people in this modern day and age.
Yeah.
And certainly for folks who are dealing with neurodivergence, ADHD especially, and then things like chronic illness. Our bodies and brains don't really let us have those moments of peace very often. We have to work for them, which, just it feels like more work.
Yeah.
So I feel very similarly to you. And I think I hear oftentimes in our community that they feel very invalidated and, just sit down and close your eyes and meditate and just have all be mindful. But a lot of what mindfulness looks like for us looks a lot different than what it does for neurotypical people. And again, it is a luxury, I think, for a lot of us. So I was thinking about, like a Buddhist monk, of course, he works in a monastery and everyone feeds them and they have lodging paid for. They don't have to commute anywhere. They don't have kids to take care of. It's a very vastly different experience. And I find a lot of influencers even if they are being honest online, it's like, do they come from some level of privilege or some level of stability that they're able to take care of themselves in that way? Because for a lot of us in the neurodivergent community or chronically ill community, we don't have the same support systems, as they do.
I see sometimes where it bridges into an area where it becomes a money-making thing. It's like more to be famous. Why can't we be true to ourselves? And if I'm not accepted for being true to myself, then so be it. And that's the problem I have with influencers who present themselves in a way just to get clicks. Because it's a form of clickbait, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that you mentioned that because it's very common for folks with ADHD to be allergic to inauthenticity. It's like we see the inauthenticity and our whole body just cringes up and our skin's going to peel off. Like it feels so bad.
Yes.
So, we're living in a very inauthentic time, I think. I'm seeing a slight shift, but it is the online space feels very fabricated and inauthentic.
It is like, again, I said like 3 o'clock in the morning, which I do have trouble sleeping and I'll pop up and all that. And I do the opposite of what they say to do. I just go from app to app to see what's going on. And on X, I see people just like trashing each other on political stuff. Like, look at this guy, look at that guy, look at that. And they take little sound bites. Like, look what he said, and look what that person said. And they're like attacking each other. And then I go over to Instagram and everybody's like posing and like, look, I'm on a shoot. Look, I'm over here. Look, I'm over there. And they're putting, little celebrity shorts like, oh, look what Robert De Niro said when he was. I'm like, and then I go over to like a Substack or whatever. I just jump TikTok. It's like the smacking people. Smack the flight attendant. Watch what happens when this flight attendant gets punched and the plane attacks the person. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like nonstop. It's like constant. I have friends that send me video shorts, those little clips of, I do them for the show, by the way. I take little sound bites of, advice and all that, and I hope that helps people. But there's all these clips of like, watch what happens when this guy does this. And to me, it's become this weird level of entertainment. And I guess it gives people dopamine rushes too, to watch that stuff. Now I had to make myself stop because I have to admit, I have to see what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next? This is part 3, part 4, part 5. And you get kind of like addicted to it. And it does like kind of stimulate your brain and want more. So I think that's one of the issues that we got going on and why they're trying to put in stops to that. I think they're trying to pass a bill that make Instagram illegal under 16, something like that. There's all these social media bills that have been proposed. I don't know if it's by state or if it's at the federal level. I'm not sure, but I've seen stuff like that. Yeah, it's to put blocks in. And I just saw something on TikTok about TikTok, an article that said there's so much AI content that's being shoved at the kids, even on the kids' TikTok, where they're allowed to look at this little special kids' TikTok. and they're putting these AI videos that are like kind of warped in a way that's eschewing things for the kids. So that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And then as far as neurodiversity in the culture, I think it's become more accepted. Like I said, it was on that mainstream TV show, and you do see it in other TV shows and film. It's portrayed with people that are neurodivergent, and it's become common to see, and I think more accepted. But then there's another overarching part of the country that is like anti anything that's different, and I won't name names. But there is that part of it too. And what can we do? It's we just have to go with the flow and hope for the best and keep ourselves educated. And that's why I envy you, and I will give you props for educating yourself. That's a huge factor in all this, is understanding, like you said, why we are, who we are, and accepting ourselves. I think that's a big message from this. Do you concur?
Yeah. And I love that you said this idea of educating ourselves. Like, knowledge is so empowering, because then it gives us the autonomy back to make our own decisions. And I find with the world right now, as you said, this content is being shoved down our throats. And if you're looking at basic psychology, like how priming works in the brain, if we're exposed to a certain piece of information 3 times and it like solidifies in our subconscious, and it's creating real psychological changes to individuals and societally. Like, you can see how the world is being shaped by the information that we're being fed. And I'm kind of moving to this space. The first time I've said this out loud, but very pro regulation on social media, because I think it has the capacity to be quite dangerous. In a lot of ways, it's wonderful. We have to educate ourselves and see the world through the digital lens. But but there's also like a lot of challenging issues that are coming up with it as well. So I think that like educating ourselves on how these platforms are affecting our psychology, and how it affects the collective psychology, can be really great for people. And that's something I'm kind of interested in going more towards with my career as well, is just, okay, how can we create more awareness and educate people more on how to have better relationships with our technology? And I really think in 10 or 20 years, we'll start to see social media as something like cigarette use, or like some kind of addiction that's been really terrible for us.
I agree.
But we just don't know. We're just too early in our history right now as a society. But it's really strange time, especially for neurodivergent folks. It's like we're already overstimulated, and all of this is just compounding it for us.
Yeah, and there's I don't know if you heard the acronym FOM, I think, fear of missing out. FOMO, yeah, that's it. Of like I got off of Facebook. I still have my account. That's what people always say. I still have my account, but I'm not because I used to scroll and comment and like, oh, that person, this person, that person. I gotta keep on. That person said happy birthday. I have to say happy birthday back to them. And I was like, I gotta get off of here. It's just burning me out. To your point about burnout. And after a while, it's like, oh no. And it's funny that somebody close to me said, did you unfriend me? I'm like, no, I didn't unfriend you. They're like, because I wasn't there. And also other people that are on there constantly, they look at me as if I am almost like an outcast. Like they think it appears to them that I am ghosting them. But I'm not ghosting anybody. I just said I'm not doing much on there anymore because I can't keep up with it. It's another thing to be concerned with every morning. Open the phone and go, oh, so-and-so this, so-and-so that. So it's a good communication tool. So people put out a group thing, like, hey, everybody, we're moving to Florida. Okay, great. But after a while, it's like, it's so much. How could you keep up with 500 lives? Because a lot of times you end up collecting friends and you have like 500 people that you have out there. Yeah. And you can't keep up with those people.
Yeah. And we're not designed to. I think the book is called The Moral Animal. Probably, I think that's the book it came from. I read it years ago, but it was essentially talking about how our neuroanatomy and our brains are the same as they were 500 years ago, but our society has shifted so much that our brains are still kind of this not primitive, but they're designed to excel in a specific type of environment, and that environment certainly isn't now. And I believe that that book also went into, we're really only supposed to be able to hold, compassion and empathy for a small group of people, our immediate family, our immediate community or tribe. But now we're being exposed to, not only ourselves and our immediate community, but also like global politics and global challenges. And it's like our brains aren't designed to hold that much. And it's, you see everyone, even neurotypical folks, are burnt out from the news, and it has real effects on our physiological state of being. And it's just too much.
Well, and I have a story for everything you say, because I can relate so much to everything. So I have an iPad, and I decided, to keep my brain sharp, I'm going to play chess. I'm on chess.com, anybody, if you want to challenge me. Stranger Than Fiction, Stranger Than Fiction 0707, in case you want to play me. But so I decided to play chess, and I've met a few friends, and I know people that are on there, so I play chess. And then I said, use Duolingo. Duolingo, you could sponsor me too for plugging you. It's an app where you can learn Spanish. So I'm on Duolingo. And so I'm flipping between those two things, even though it's supposed to be practicing mindful eating. Sorry, folks. I'm playing chess while I eat, okay? So sue me, all right? But guess what else is on my iPad? The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, the Newsday, my local paper. There's like 17. Apple News has like 100, hundreds. So when I hit that icon, I'm gone. It's like, and I said, again, my trusty wife, I said to her today, I said, something? I'm not reading this anymore. I had enough. Every article starts with Trump. Every article is about him. It's like sucking the energy, and it's not, it's him too, because, of his ways, but it's also the media is just, sucking everybody dry to get those clicks, I feel.
A vampire.
Yeah, they're vampires.
Vampiric.
Yeah, so it's like, and then she was on YouTube constantly watching the people that, are saying, watch what's going to happen next. And then they have breaking news, and even on the social media, sometimes you see breaking news, look what happened. You're like, what happened? So after a while, nothing happened. People just make stuff up. It's like Savannah Guthrie's, her poor mother that was kidnapped, but you'll see Savannah Guthrie's mother found, like, it was just clickbait. So the point is that, it burns us out. So I got to get I'm going to take some stuff off my iPad and just have chess.
Yeah.
That's what I got to do. Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? That's so funny that you brought this up, because I am right now, this week in particular, it's so funny that you brought this particular point up, going through a social media type of an app detox, but I'm looking at more as nutrition. So, what I put into my body, I'm also like, okay, what am I putting into my brain? And I realize after, I'm on Reddit or whatever, I'm like, do I feel good eating this? Like, it feels like I ate a big greasy package of fries, and it was kind of good in the moment, kind of, but then I feel awful afterwards. And so now I'm kind of starting to think of that when I am, looking at this news and things. I'm like, this app has made me feel really bad this week. I'm just going to delete it off my phone.
There you go.
So I'm kind of looking at it more as a nutritional type of relationship.
I love that.
Because it feels more like nourishing the brain and the body more than a hard, get out of here. I kind of think of it as dessert too. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
You're
yes.
adding to your life by taking something away. There's another app, LinkedIn. I love all you IT people out there who I'm connected with, by the way. And I am sorry I changed after I retired, I changed my moniker to retired and writer and podcaster. So they were like, who is this guy? How come he's not in the race with us anymore? Because everybody's talking about work. A lot of people talk about work. But I went out there, and I know so many people, hundreds and hundreds of people that I connected with over decades. And I said, maybe I'll go on here and I'll talk about my podcast a little bit. Then I just started seeing stuff like similar to Facebook, but work-wise. Like, I just made my sales quota. I just just got my certification. I just did this, and so on Facebook is, I just made a casserole. I just made a pizza. I just, look at us and a new couch. And I'm like, So it's like, okay, I'll visit once in a while, but I'm not going to stay here. I just can't stay here. It's too much. But it's all about choices, isn't it? It's all about choices. We get to make the choice. Nobody's forcing us to be out there on any of these apps.
Yeah, true. There's my only pushback on it a little bit is like, I do know that these apps are designed to be as psychologically alluring as possible. There's whole teams of psychologists there that are sitting on a round table and being like, okay, how can we make people stay on this app as much as possible? Create rage bait, create this feeling of not here, you're going to feel left out. So it's kind of exploiting very basic psychological, mechanisms in the human brain. And so, yes, we have a choice, but it becomes harder and harder because these platforms are extraordinarily good at sucking up our attention. But yes, and that's why it brings back to that point we're talking about of really educating ourselves. And that could be so empowering because like, okay, if I know what's happening in my brain, I know what these platforms are doing, I know how they're created, that gives me a little more autonomy and a little more choice in where I choose to actually spend my time. And I don't know if this appeals to you. It does for me because I have a tendency to be a little, antagonistic. But if someone tells me I can't do something, I'll get mad and do it anyway or something like that. But I kind of got angry last year because I think I spent like 2 hours scrolling on Instagram or something, and I finished scrolling out of this dopamine hole, and I was like, what am I doing? This app stole 2 hours from me. And I got angry at the app, and it made me delete it.
Wow.
So it was like a weird reframing, but it's almost like, okay, this company is trying to exploit my psychology to get my eyes and data so they can make money. And I feel like I didn't have a choice in it, really, because I didn't understand that. But now that I understand that, I'm just like,
good for
F you, I'm going to do what I want. But so that can be a helpful kind of reframe for some folks, too, is like, get angry.
Yeah, I like that. And you're absolutely spot on. And I'm glad you said you're going to go into that field. I think you said earlier of studying how all this works, because the algorithms, I said to my wife, she should be my co-host on this show. I said, none of those apps are free. They are selling to you. Because she was like, look, this theater keeps popping up. I said, because you were on the website and they left cookies, and now Facebook is sending you. So they were even reading private messages at one time. They stopped now, supposedly, because they would go, oh, that person just mentioned they like cantaloupe, so we'll try to sell them cantaloupes. I kept it benign. I had to keep it benign. And that kind of stuff. So, yes, we do get roped in. And also getting back to my Substack experience and also selling as an author, as a book author, and as a podcaster, we are encouraged to market ourselves and sell on the social media platforms. So, mea culpa, I have a program that shoots out clips, video shorts, to all the social media platforms. I'm sorry. I apologize, everybody. But I have to drag people to the show. And there's self-improvement. And then they're not toxic positivity. Oh, her rating sucks there, okay? That's not kidding. Anyway, wow. So, hey, we're coming up on an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. I am so appreciative of you coming on and listening to me gab so much. I think out of all my guests, I have spoken more on this podcast more than any, because number one, I was so comfortable talking to you. And number two, there's like a long list, by the way, there's like 10 things, so you gotta, I'm just kidding. So, and two, because it's the neurodivergency topic, which I am in. And so I was like, I could talk to this person. Wow. She'll understand me. So thank you so much. And I'll let you get a last word in. What's next for you? And have any final words for the people that are listening?
Oh yes.
I'm going to give you the spotlight also. Ready? Go to camera 2. Here we go. You're on. This is your Oscar-winning moment.
Oh no, too much pressure. But no, I just want to say thank you for the conversation today too. I also find you very easy to talk to, and that's the beauty of one neurodivergent person and two of them in a room together, because it's just the ideas light up and the conversations can be endless. So there's so many things that we get to talking about, and I wish we could have. So love to do this again. But yeah, I need to maybe work on my concluding sentence for this space. But I guess the kind of main point of what came up on this show and my philosophy of coaching is one of the best things you can do as a neurodivergent person, or all types of folks, just educating yourself in one way or another. And that means going out and having conversations with people, reading a book, even if it's your choice to go to school, because again, like that is where it empowers us. When we're educated, it empowers us to understand ourselves better and make better decisions for us and our lives and the people around us. So it's the number one kind of coaching tool I have besides connecting with community. But get curious. And that's such an innate part of ADHD as well. It's like we're very curious people and always yearned for and hunger for knowledge and learning new things. Yeah. So I usually tell folks and my clients to just get curious and see what you can find and experiment. And that's kind of the one of the best ways to navigate ADHD and neurodivergence in our world right now.
Wonderful.
I don't know how eloquent that was.
It was great. It was fantastic. And also, I want to tell people, and I'll put it up again. You can go to flown.com, and there you are. You could book a session with, and by the way, Kit didn't say, like, I want to plug my Flown. I'm choosing to put this up, by the way. Flown didn't tell me to do it. Kit didn't tell me to do it. I'm choosing to say, because I intend to. I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna give a free session a try. I need to. Please. I can't just talk the talk. I have to walk the walk. So I will give it a try. So flown.com, and that's the best way if people wanted to continue the conversation with you, to go out to that website. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we have free body doubling, facilitated body doubling. There's coaching with me, and then last little nugget is my coaching course is coming up in March. It's called the ADHD Mastery Program. We do it twice a year now, and it's a 6-week and 6-module course that looks at ADHD challenges and pain points, and we have community discussions, learn strategies, and do a lot of interactivity in the workshops themselves. So I'm very excited about it. It's been a culmination of everything that I've learned through life experience and my times in behavioral neuroscience labs and all my clients. So I'm really excited for it. It starts on March 11th. So if you're interested, I'll give you a link.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I'll put the link in the description, all that, jazz and all that. So, and I want to also say the fact that you're relatively young to me, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. I'm saying that, people like you give me hope for the human race. You truly do, because you have grown to where you've gotten, and you have so much more time, and back to you sharing this with people, I think is so commendable. And when people say, "Oh, the country's all messed up," it is in some ways. It always has been, always will be in some ways. But then there are people like you that do this. And, we have to, I'm spiritual, so I would say, when I speak of God's plan, I say, well, there are things like this going on, which are like, why did that happen? But there are things like this going on. And I'm talking about you and your company. There are people that are helping people. So there's a balance. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now, otherwise we'll go into like another hour. But thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh gosh, there's so much I want to say on that, but yes, we'll conclude. But
well, we can do a part 2 someday. Yes, there's a lot of good in the world, and thank you again for indulging me with the spotlight on a big part of this show.
I loved it.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I took the pressure off. See, I took the pressure off you. So I'm just kidding. All right. Well, thank you, Kit, and you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll be in touch with you. And everybody, this is Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino. That's Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino. send $19.95 to P.O. Box, whatever, for a special copy of this. Just kidding. Tell your friends and family about it, about the podcast. It's on Spotify, Audible, whatever, Google, whatever. You could find this podcast out there, Apple Podcasts, and find us and listen and tell everybody about it and spread the word, spread the good news. And thank you again.
All right. Bye, John. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
This has been Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino.
Streaming on all platforms.
Spread the word.